Hey everyone, CPO here, and today it is a front splitter day. That's right, the Aerofabb version 2 Street Edition front splitter on a 2019 Golf R. And I'll tell you, the install was way easier than I expected. I think even you can do this. Here's just a quick look at it on the car. Car's a little dirty, it rained today. What are you gonna do? It really does give a subtly aggressive look, and I don't know how else to describe it. What I can say is video and photos never seem to do these splitters justice. Like every time I try and figure out like how they look in a video or photo, it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't look like anything. I swear it looks badass in person. So yeah, you're just gonna have to take my word for it, go buy it, install it, and then you'll know for yourself. But I will say again, it was really easy. I was nervous about this install because I didn't want to take the front bumper off. As a matter of fact, I paid a shop to upgrade my intercooler because I didn't want to take the bumper off. I didn't want to mess with that. It was so easy, folks. I mean, this is a 2019 Mark 7.5 Golf R, so your mileage may vary depending on what vehicle you have, but like, this was easy. I was nervous about nothing. And the actual install of the hardware for the splitter, also super easy. The instructions from Aerofabb are spot on. So follow along with me, and then I think you're gonna really find that this is not that big of a deal. All right, let's get started on this. This is how the package arrived to my front door. Very well packaged, and there's actually wood reinforcements in there to hold everything together. So I'll spare you with the unboxing. There's stuff in there, in that box that we're gonna install. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is remove the grill. There's 2 screws, and basically you're gonna pull it more sort of up and forward. It's the forward pull that releases it. You'll see right here. There you go. It just slips underneath a little channel there. So I do leave my sensor plugged in, and I'm just disconnecting the wiring harness clips there so that I can set this up in the engine compartment. Now you will see my vehicle is up on jack stand just to make it easier to get underneath. And if you turn the tire inward, you can get to these 4, that's right, 4 on each side, hex screws that are holding the bumper cover on. Rotate the tires, and that gives you access to the other side. And yeah, pretty easy. The top one goes straight up. It's a little bit awkward, but yeah, you'll find it. All right, now I'm going underneath, and basically there's 7 screws here that are just on the front edge of the car, right? So you do not have to remove the other splash guards or insulation or anything like that. Just run around and do the 7. It's basically from wheel well all around the front. So this is the scary part. It's not scary at all. It actually is pretty easy, surprisingly. Just pull these clips out. Easy peasy. All right, now there are the clips holding the bumper cover on, and I'm using a screwdriver just to free them. I'm basically just pushing down as I'm pulling forward on the bumper cover. And this bumper's been off before, I'm not gonna lie, so it's possible it's easier for me than it will be for you the very first time, but it was pretty easy. And then with that, it's free. Now I don't have fog lights, but I do have parking sensors, so I'm gonna need to unplug that before I go any further. And then use the cardboard that came with your package as a way to keep from scratching your bumper. That cardboard actually works out really well. So there's my naked front end. Yeah, I should go cruise around like that. Anyway, we're going to turn the bumper upside down. And yeah, you can see this thing has, it's been through hell. Lots of scrape marks. I'm sure the splitter is going to see some pain. So the manual is pretty comprehensive. This is the most important page. Tells you exactly which positions you have. A is basically alignment pins. You're going to use that to align things first before you start drilling. B will be the first set of bolts you use, the first thing you install. C gets us a little bit further, a little bit bigger washers. D is the first that we actually start using spacers. And then E, that's the mother load. That's the whole middle section. It's going to use this hardware, plus there are 2 different sizes of spacers. And we'll talk about that, but they are clearly marked which ones are which. So this is the splitter. It's made of this high impact plastic. You're going to put the logo down in this case because the bumper's upside down. That way when we turn it back over, the logo is facing up. And just line it up, set it on top of the bumper, and you can see these alignment pins are going to fit into a hole on the very edge of the bumper. And that's their entire job, is just to help you align this splitter so that when you start drilling holes, you know it's exactly where you want everything to be, right? So it's one of those push style things. You might have to pull out the little centerpiece if you're having a problem getting it to fit, but make sure you compress the splitter to the bumper so that that goes in and makes connection with both. So now our splitter should just be hanging there in the right spot. Perfect. Let's drill some holes. So this is a 1/4 inch drill bit. This is position B. We're going to drill this hole out, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put the hardware in, but don't drill any more holes yet. I am using anti-seize. This is to prevent galling with the lock nut and the stainless hardware. I'm not really worried about the stainless hardware seizing up, but this is just to prevent galling during install. So the hardware pattern's pretty much the same. It's going to be a washer on the bottom, and then push through, and then in this case I'm adding just a little bit of anti-seize, and then another washer, and then your lock nut. So you'll see sort of a pattern there. We will change things up when we get to the E-level hardware, the center stuff. We're going to do things a little differently. Now I'm going to the other corner, doing the same thing. Drilling a hole, tighten up B. Once you get B's tightened up, then you can start drilling other holes. That's going to ensure that nothing is going to move once you start drilling. Those alignment pins are good for that initial alignment, but I wouldn't trust them while you drill the rest of the holes. So get B done, then go drill all your holes. I'm also squeezing the splitter to the bumper cover so that I can make sure that it goes through cleanly and straight. And then also I made sure that there's no structure underneath where I'm drilling, which there shouldn't be if you're doing it right. I've got some anti-seize on these screws. This is the C level. Basically, it's just a washer on both end and then tightened down. It's a bigger washer. We're into like Fender Washers at this point. Get C done, and then we're good to go there. Now when we move to D, we're the first time we actually see a spacer, and D has 2 little spacers in that bag. So you're going to line the spacer up in between the splitter and the bumper cover, and then make sure you stab the screw inside the spacer. Now, it would be easy to think that you've got your screw through the spacer and then have it not there, and then eventually it'll come out. So pull on it, check it, make sure that you actually have the screw in there. Now, before you get started, ideally you should check and make sure you have all your screw hardware. But to be honest with you, if anything is missing, it's easily sourced from like Ace Hardware or something local. Other than these spacers, which you could fab pretty easy. So 2 different sizes. We're going to use the bigger ones for this part of the install. So I'm putting the bigger ones in between the splitter and the bumper, putting a washer and a screw through, and then I'm just using right now the lock nut. The lock nut is just there to keep everything from falling apart when we flip it back over. So spacer in between, washer, screw, just gently thread the lock nut on, and you'll see when we flip it over, it's the lock nut that keeps all those screws from falling out. So once you have it all flipped over, now we can go back in and remove all those lock nuts. So don't spend a lot of time, threading them on. Just get them to where they hold, because you're going to take them right back off anyway. Once you get those nuts back off, then it's fender washers, and then those smaller spacers that come out of that E packet. So the bigger spacers on the bottom of the bumper cover, the smaller spacers are on the inside of the bumper cover. Now we have an opportunity to put this support brace in here. And it's going to face just like this. It'll be pretty easy to figure out how. I am putting the logo up, the branding up, and it's going to fit over those screws. And the way it's designed is actually really cool, the way it sort of integrates into the front of the bumper cover. And the way that happens is you push it forward, there's a slot, and you get it in there, and then you slide it forward into its position. Now we're putting more washers in, and then we are going to add a little bit of anti-seize. Now I can put the lock nuts on, and this time the hardware installation is done, and what I can do now is tighten these up. I found the easy way to tighten these up is to lay the bumper on its front, and then that does a couple things. It allows the support brace to hang gravity-wise where it needs to be anyway, and then also gives me easy access to both sides for tightening up all this hardware. So just go through systematically, make sure everything is tight. How tight? I just tighten it until I get that amount of resistance that tells me any further I'm going to start digging into plastic. So it's sort of a gut feel, but you'll know it when you feel it. So just make sure that you get it snugged up, and with those lock nuts, it shouldn't come loose once you get it snugged. And yeah, that's it. Now we can hang the bumper. Don't forget to plug in anything you unplugged, in this case, plugging my sensors back in. And the bumper is heavier. You will notice that when you hang it, and you can feel the weight as you put it back together. But what I'm doing now is just making sure that I get everything aligned and pushed into place as I go. And it actually went on fairly easy, making sure that I get the right overlap underneath of the different panels. You'll see that where you took the screws out, they're going to overlap in a certain way. And then just push your panel back in. You'll hear it click into place. It should lock into place. And yeah, I mean, it really is quite easy. It's just scary to think about. Once you have that back on, you can put in your inner fender screws. Again, there's 4 on each side, and then there's 7 on the bottom. Go ahead and put those back in. And if you did it right, you'll have no leftover screws. Yeah, that's always fun. All right, so the grille's going back in. I'm just basically reconnecting the little harness clips on the bumper cover for that sensor, and then it slides forward. There's a little channel along the top of the bumper cover you'll see that the grill sort of slides into, and I'm just making sure that I get that lined in there properly, and then I'm pushing straight back, and there's a little click that'll lock into place, and then after that, it's literally those 2 screws on the top going back in, and you're done. A little bit of Aerofabb rep right there, and then we can pull this thing out of the garage and check it out. Now you saw the finished product in the intro, but it really is an amazing product. I'm super thrilled with how easy it was and how well it turned out. And honestly, yeah, I would do this over again 10 times out of 10. All right, folks, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.